Everyone loves card tricks, but it's a bit different than the normal card trick. So you can look through the entire pack, make a mental note of what you want, and just keep going.
Right.
You have one?
I've got one.
Okay, I'm just gonna go for what my gut reaction was, and I'm gonna pop it on the table, but I don't want you to look at it quite yet. Put your finger on top of the card so you know I don't change it. I feel like this hasn't worked. What was the card?
6 of hearts.
There's not a 6 of hearts in here. It's disappeared, it's in your pocket. I'm just joking. I did get it wrong. You can take a look. You can show the camera. Because it's not about the Queen of Hearts, it's about what the Queen of Hearts is holding. If you look closer, look, the Queen of Hearts is actually holding a card. What card is the Queen holding?
The 6 of hearts. Welcome to the brand new Unstoppable podcast with your host, Johnny Pierce. In this podcast, we're going to cover all you need to develop unstoppable confidence, build an unbreakable mindset, and we're going to make sure that everything that you listen to is unforgettable. We'll dissect the lessons from the people that you want to hear from, and you have access to this completely free of charge. If you like it, don't forget to share it with your friends, and I'll see you on the inside. We are back with the Unstoppable podcast, and we're here with the wonderful Joel M. Appreciate you being here, mate.
Hello,
Thanks
hello,
so
my
much.
friend.
Legend, looking forward to this. This is the first podcast I've been nervous for. The reason I'm nervous is because I'm worried about what magic Joel is going to do here and what he's going to know and learn about me. So he's an interesting character, and I'm looking forward to seeing it.
Thank you very much. Yeah, we'll get right inside your head. Nobody wants to go there.
Yeah, it's a dangerous place. It's a dangerous place.
Glad to have you, and thanks for asking.
Yeah.
I do want to say for the people watching, there's a big picture behind me. I did not buy that for myself. That was a gift. I'm not completely deranged, but yeah.
It's a great photo though. Great image.
Oh, it does all right.
Yeah, it shows you in your best light in the dark.
Yeah, the days that I like bothered to scrub up and put on a suit doesn't happen often.
Looking fresh. No, so today we're gonna do loads of different things. Obviously, Joel has been a huge success in his field. He's done amazing things for both our country, obviously being from here, and also the world of magic, and most recently has been taking part and obviously started a new role with Blue Peter, which is great and exciting for you. So I suppose, Joel, tell us a little bit more. Obviously you've grew a huge following, over 20 million followers on social media and all those different things. Tell us a little bit about the journey, how it all started and kind of what happened for you.
Well, the social media thing was a mistake. That wasn't part of the plan ever. I got into magic super young, and that was my whole life. I don't remember not doing it. So I have like this origin story of how I got into it, and I do remember that, which was my grandfather loved Tommy Cooper and Paul Daniels. So we went to a magic shop in America, and I do remember that, but I don't remember anything else in childhood where I wasn't doing magic. Anything else before that I don't remember. So my whole life's just been doing tricks, practicing, getting it wrong, getting better slowly. And then it just so happens that at around the time COVID kicked in, I just happened to download TikTok maybe 6-7 months before and start posting. I had always had a YouTube channel with my brother, but it wasn't even magic videos at first, it was Minecraft tutorial videos.
Right, yeah.
There's still a channel online with those on them. I can't remember the password, so I can't delete them, but it doesn't have my name in it, so luckily, but you can hear my squeaky voice. Even my friend in the background doesn't know that, so get searching. But yeah, so social media was an accident. It just happened that I liked making videos for fun with my brother. We've done that since forever, whether it was just like pranky videos. He actually had a YouTube channel, which I did all the editing for. So I learned how to edit for him, not even for me. Then I had loads of spare time in my hands whenever COVID had happened. I'd done a television show at that point, had a small Facebook following from one accidental viral video. And I just had so much free time and thought, well, clearly this TikTok thing is gonna be big. Everyone's on it, it's all anyone's talking about. I'm just gonna go 100% all in that, since I can't do anything else, can't do gigs. It was actually quite scary because if you're an entertainer and there's a global lockdown, you can't entertain people. It was the only way. So it was sort of by brute force that all happened.
And I think it's so interesting to hear everyone's perspective of what COVID was for them, because we spoke to a number of different people on this podcast and everyone was scared, everyone was living the unknown, they didn't know what was going to happen next. And I think it's so interesting. Some people used it in a really positive way, and like for you, obviously you lent into the TikTok thing, the social media thing, and that was obviously with huge return, but also people fell victim to the circumstances as well.
This is what I always say, is I got really, 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 really lucky in that nobody that was close to me got sick. So I have a very different experience than a lot of other people have. I'm very grateful. It did give me a lot of focus. I think I know some people with a similar experience. So of course it was a horrible, awful thing. But the thing it did teach me is that you can get a lot more done in a day than you think you can if you just cut out all the distractions. So although parts of it were miserable, for the most part I got my social connection from building up this audience and just spending a lot of time engaging with those people. I did a lot of live streaming over COVID as well.
What was the audience change between the start of COVID to the end of COVID?
Oh God, it was big. Yeah, so it took me, I would say it took me 10 years from starting my YouTube channel to get my first 10,000 people. And then it took me 2 years to get to 1 million people.
Right.
And then it took me another 1 year to get to like 15 million. So it snowballs really fast. But I think it's that classic thing of, well, snowballs. It happens. Once you figure out how to make something work, you just keep bashing that button and don't stop. I think a lot of people, they figure out what's working and they stop doing that for social. So I just found a format that worked, that I was good at and nobody else was doing, and did it to death. I'm trying to think what the math would be on this. It was really, COVID was what, 2 years, really?
Roughly, yeah.
And I think I did 1,200 videos in that time. So it was every day at least, well, I do the math, 2 or 3 videos a day without a break. And it was worth it. It was really good.
And people always say repetition's the mother of all skills.
That's
so
true.
That was essentially what you did, and obviously you knew it was working, so you repeated it. And a lot of people will see you as an overnight success, you know, this guy that came out of nowhere. But in actual fact, you mentioned there you were on YouTube, social media for like 10 years prior to maybe what would seem to be an overnight success.
Totally. I will say with one as regards to COVID, the thing that was the best about that and the biggest learning was that when you're stuck by yourself, you really don't care what anybody else thinks of you. And because I didn't care what anyone else think, because nobody was there to give their opinion, I just posted and made what I wanted to without fear of what friends or family, because they weren't there to tell me. So I think that's a massive thing as well that can really take the brakes off for some people, is they can be very creative and make really good stuff, but they subconsciously hold themselves back because they're really caring about the people around them in terms of what they think. So that was really good too. But yeah, I started doing shows when I was quite young. I did my first wedding when I was 8, and then had my first residency show when I was 11. So as I say, it was always a plan to be a magician, but never a plan to be a social media magician.
Yeah, and it shows you, like, you know, Joel didn't wake up in one morning and become great on camera. It was that repetition. And I remember filming my first video on social media, and like sometimes they come up with my memories and I'm looking at them like, what was I talking about? But equally, that's what got me to being able to be better on camera. I'm not saying I'm great now, but I am better than what I once was. And it just shows you how you can be uncomfortable at the start. There can be a lot of friction. And often for me back then, it was the what ifs. What if, you know, that family member says something about what I said, or what if my old friend from school mentions it? But a lot of these times, you know, if you're on a mission and you want to achieve something, you just have to get over that kind of limiting belief that's in your own head and push on.
You do, and you probably will either annoy some people or lose some people. Like, that is the price of it. Now, the people who really love you probably won't. In fact, a lot of the time you realize that people actually don't care that much. They might say something, but the really nice thing is whenever you then maybe do start to pick up a bit of traction or success, if you really stick at it, then it doesn't matter what they thought anyway, because you proved them wrong.
Yeah, of course.
So who cares?
And sometimes you can take great satisfaction from that too. You know, the naysayers or the teacher in school that you could said that you could never be a social media sensation or whatever it was. You know?
I don't necessarily get that as much as I think people always say that, like, prove them wrong, and I've never got that too much. But in little bits. There's like 2 or 3 people in my head. I'm like,
of course.
They probably don't even know what I'm doing now.
No, but
they don't care. You have
do
to do
what
it for
you need
yourself.
to do. So let's do what everyone wants to see. We're going to do some magic. So this is obviously Joel's speciality, and he's going to teach us as to how he can blow our minds.
Should we see if the magic works on 4 hours sleep? It's like diluted a little bit.
And the interesting thing is, I used to not believe in magic before I met Joel. So this is something that's going to be an interesting experience for everyone.
That is the highest compliment I've been paid in a while, so thank you. Well, I'll tell you what we'll do. You get a choice. Would you like to see option 1, the card trick, or option B, the spectacular mind reading trick? You choose.
Can we do one of them now and one of them later.
We certainly can. Keep them hooked.
Keep them hooked, keep them engaged. My social media skills are off the charts here.
It works.
So yeah, first one, I suppose we'll do the mind reading thing.
I love it. So this is my favorite thing to do. And actually, interestingly, I got into magic very young. And then I dropped magic altogether in lieu of learning mentalism and hypnotism. Then realized that doesn't play well to a TikTok audience, and certainly not for kids TV. But my favorite stuff, I was obsessed with Darren Brown and Sherlock Holmes and that sort of thing. So this is a little bit of a test like that. It's not necessarily going to work, but I'll try and get close. I have like a 70-80% hit rate. So,
yeah, I love it.
what I'm going to ask you to do, and keep a very straight face while we do this, because the straighter the face,
straight
real
face,
poker face. Embrace
I find
that
this hard. I'm a big smiler.
You're a big smiler. It's not a bad thing. I'm going to get you to think of a couple of things. Firstly, I'm going to have you think of, and let's try and mix this up. I'm going to have you think of let's go for a name of a person that you know. And this is worth pointing this out, that we haven't set this up or prearranged. What I'm asking you to do right now is genuinely on the spot. Didn't ask you to write that down beforehand, nothing like that. This is correct in your head. Okay, think of that name for me. I'm going to see how close I can get. All I'll ask is it's not somebody that's in the room, so it's not one of us, any of the guys back there. You have somebody?
Yeah.
Okay, you're right-handed?
Yes.
Give me your right hand like this. Look at me. And just hold your hand right there. Try not to move. Okay. You need to think of the first letter of the name. You don't say it out loud, you just think it in the back of your head. Now, this is fun because the people watching will see exactly how I do this and you'll not necessarily be aware of it, but just think of the first letter. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W. It turns into a little song towards the end. It's already gone. In your head, count how many letters the name is, would you?
Yep.
It's a slightly longer name than I anticipated, and it's interesting that I think you started here and started counting on these fingers down here as well. So I'm going to say, you can relax your hand for a second. I'm going to deliberately miss-scribble a little bit just in case to give away the ending and kind of do random marks here, but I think it'll be something like that. Any way I could know this? Unless everyone's like psychic, of course. I'm not going to give that away just yet. I'm going to leave it beside your phone. Make sure I don't change that or move that. That's going to stay in shot of the camera this entire time. I'll not touch it. What was the name?
Olivia.
You're going to freak out in a second. I'm on a roll, so I'm going to do 2 in a row, if that's okay. Really, Olivia?
Yeah.
And we didn't set that up?
No.
You'll see. Okay, I'm going to ask you to think of a random English word. You can get one in your head. Give me a nod when you have that word. You have it. This is slightly harder because a name, it's slightly limited, right? But an English words, you guys can do the math on how many different English words there are, but typically people think of one of sort of 10 to 20. So we're going to ensure that isn't you. Make sure you have a random one. Would you think you have a random, hard to guess word?
I've got a random word, yeah.
Okay, look at me. Same thing with your hand again. Think of the first letter. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S. Careful. Q, R. Thank you. Can you think of the last letter for me? Which is easy because it's the same as the first. That's good. I'll kind of do some random scribbles here, but I think I'm not even going to ask you to count how many letters are in it, although you could quite easily, I think. I'm going to fold this up. Right. Don't tell me what this word is quite yet, in case you accuse. I'm going to throw the pen away in case you think I cheat. I'm going to show you the name first. And then I'm going to let you unfold that yourself. You thought of a random name. You said it was?
Olivia.
What have I written down for the viewers?
That's mental.
It is a little.
That is crazy.
That's Olivia. Now, you haven't even told me what the word is yet.
Yeah.
Do you want to say it out loud for the first time?
Stimulus.
Stimulus?
Yeah. You got it right.
In your own time. Unfold that piece
Show
of
the
paper.
camera.
Show the camera as I get to cackle on my supervillain pose.
That's
like
mental.
Thank you.
That is fair play.
Do you enjoy this?
Yes, I believe it now. I always did since meeting you, but that's incredible. That is insane.
And we can sell these on eBay for 5p each.
Yes. Anyone wants to buy them, I'm sure my sister will want to because her name's on there.
Oh, that's your sister?
Yeah.
Younger sister?
Older.
Older? How many siblings do you have?
One sister just.
You have your one sister?
Yeah.
Love it. I have a little sister.
Yeah. Good fun.
Anyhow,
there you go. That
there
is
you go.
legitimately crazy. Like,
oh, thank you. Glad you liked it.
No, I love that. I wasn't sure because whenever we were doing the name, I thought you thought I had thought of more letters than I did. So I thought you might have got it wrong.
Yeah.
And I was like, there's no way you're going to get this.
That's a good little trick for people to watch for, by the way, is if you find out what hand somebody writes with, and then you ask them to count in their head how many letters something is, you can't even help it. We automatically do this. So I was sort of guesstimating, I saw this finger move, which I think was you actually started counting on that hand instead of your right hand. So that nearly threw me off.
Yeah, but that's crazy.
Now you know how to mess up a mind reader
there
next
you go.
time.
Well, I don't know how to work it out, how you actually done that, but maybe you'll tell me after.
Yeah. £10.
Epic. So obviously we've got an insight into kind of how you started all this stuff, and I don't think anyone wakes up wanting to be a magician. You touched upon it a little bit. Did you ever do anything other than just magic, or was it always a magic thing?
Yeah, I did. In the sort of phase where I didn't have enough work as a magician and was sort of desperately looking for anything that would pay me, I took a job in a piano bar playing jazz piano.
Right, didn't know you
so
played
I did
music.
that so I actually started music before magic.
Can you sing?
Not on this podcast, but when I'm alone in my house.
You'll sing a tune in the shower then?
I certainly do. I've sang in my show before. I do some tricks with musical instruments, which is fun. I'm certainly not as good as I am at magic. I practice more at that, but I really enjoy it. I used to sing in choirs and that sort of thing.
Yeah, cool.
Piano is the main instrument. I drum as well, so that's sort of my therapy. I made the choice to deliberately not do anything really music related career-wise. I mean, I use it for a couple of tricks in the show if I'm feeling up to it, but it's like my one thing that is just a hobby I get to enjoy.
Purely
so usually I'll come back from the office here after a show and I'll sit and bash out in the piano for a bit, and that's a nice sort of release. So I did that for a little while. I'm very lucky, I suppose, in that I never had like a normal job. Not really. I worked very hard so that whenever I left school, I already had a client list. So I didn't have to get a normal job, but it sucked for the first couple of years for sure.
And was there ever a point that you thought that the magic thing wasn't going to work?
No, there was all the evidence in the world that it wasn't going to. But you know, when you're a bit younger and you're like super delusional about how it's going to work out, and that can almost be a good thing. No one could have convinced me that I wasn't going to somehow. I didn't think it was going to get to this point, not at all. I thought I would get a couple more restaurant residencies or maybe pick up the odd corporate show. And I think it's because I met so many magicians when I was younger, and I thought, right, they're not that much more talented than me to where I couldn't get to that if I put the work in. So that always made me think, right, it's got to work somehow or other. You know, I mean, if they can do it, I can do it as well if I just outlast them, I think. So I was never too scared. And
were you self-taught with the magic, or how did you learn?
I was. So it's pretty, I don't know if it's rare, but in Northern Ireland, I still am one of the young, this is mad to me, I'm still considered a young magician at 25. I am yet to meet anyone that's doing it full-time younger than me, which is madness to me. And it was the same pretty much 20 years above me as well. Whenever I was growing up, I didn't know any magicians that were a similar age, so I had no one really to talk to about it. Even online, I didn't really know there was a community or anything. So everything I learned was I would get bought books or like DVDs. These days you can find it all online. And I would just sort of sit and watch and teach myself. I then, when I was 13, met another magician called Caelan, who introduced me to the Ulster Society of Magicians. And I didn't necessarily learn like actual magic skills there, but it was cool just to see other magicians. And that's where I then got the idea to actually do it for a job, because I saw other people and they said, yeah, I do gigs for a living. I went, oh, so you in this country can actually do that for a job? Okay, I don't need to travel to Las Vegas to get work. So I taught it all myself, but that was just the basics. I've so many mentors and people that I definitely wouldn't be a 100th of the way along if I hadn't learned from them.
And I think that's the thing, like, you know, you need that support system, you need those people that you look up to, that you're inspired by, because often they're the people that drive us forward, and you can take the lessons from what they've done well and then put your own spin on it and all those 100%. Different things.
And I think when you start in anything, it's not a bad thing to copy and emulate. You have to, or else you have no idea what you're doing. Stand on the shoulders of giants. So I think it took me, probably 5 to 13, I was self-taught. God bless her, my mum used to sit, and I couldn't read and understand the books properly when I was 6. I mean, I could read, but I didn't know what they were telling me to do. So she used to sit and like show me where to put my fingers and the cards and stuff. So she taught me my first few card tricks. And then I remember there was one day, whenever I came downstairs from my bedroom, and I taught one myself. And from there, I took it. So
I suppose like being able to do what you were able to do at a young age, would that make you kind of popular in school? Would you say you were one of the popular kids because of what you could do, or did people think you were weird?
I hope people didn't think I was weird. I definitely wasn't an unpopular kid, and equally I wasn't like the cool kid in school.
Were you a jock?
I say. Do you know, I sat somewhere around the middle. I think I've always been, I don't want to say I've always been good. I've always enjoyed just getting on with people. So I certainly I knew everybody and people, I got on with everyone, but I wasn't like the popular kid who like got all the girls in school and was like head of the rugby team. That wasn't me at all. I was just very content being the sort of weird music drama magic kid. Although it did give me a bit of self-confidence for sure, because I knew absolutely that there would be no time where I'd be in a social interaction where I wouldn't have something.
Of course.
I learned very quickly not to use it as a crutch, because a lot of magicians grow up to be very, very weird, and I met a lot of them whenever I was 13. I was like, don't want to be that. So I think between about 13 to 17, I pretty much dropped the magic thing in school just to develop a personality outside of that, and I used music a lot for that. But in school it was good practice though. That's the one thing, is because it was an endless amount of people that I could just try new stuff on. So a lot of my early reps was just in doing stuff.
What school was that?
Bangor Grammar School.
Bangor Grammar.
Yeah, and all boys school as well. So I wasn't worried about doing a trick on a girl, not like going wrong. I just was like, here, Nathan, let me show you this.
Of course.
Whether it worked or not, I didn't care. So I was forever practicing new stuff.
Unreal. And obviously, big congratulations are in order. You've started with Blue Peter, and I suppose the goal would be to understand, one, whether I'm worthy of a Blue Peter badge, and two, how's that been?
You're worthy of 150.
That's my childhood dream. If I get one of these, that's going to be a childhood dream fulfilled.
When I got the job, I thought they were going to give me a bucket of these things to kind of give to friends.
Here's one.
No.
Oh, they're legit, like.
They're legit, yeah. And even like on video shoot days and stuff, I'll give you a good example. We went to a primary school and I had to learn how to play these old Irish folk instruments, and there was a dinner lady who really wanted a Blue Peter badge, and she followed me around all day, and she was like, can I get a badge? Come on, can I get a badge? And I was like, I actually don't have one apart from the one I wear, and if I get rid of that, they'll know I've got rid of it, and then I'll get in trouble. So she started following me like to the toilets and stuff. I was like, look, so eventually the team had to be like, nope, unless you appear on screen, you can't have one. So if you're on screen, even in the background or anything, you're allowed one, and then you can obviously earn one. But I never had one growing up either, so.
It's interesting. And did you ever watch it growing up? Was it something that you were kind of aware of?
I did. I will say one thing I do think was a big advantage for me growing up was we really weren't a TV household. So in general, most time where I think a lot of kids were playing games and watching TV, just in general, I spent that time practicing magic. So I think that put me a good 5 years ahead in terms of learning that, so I'm thankful for that. So we never really had stuff on in the house, but of course when it was on in other people's houses, I saw it. I remember Zoe Salmon came into our primary school whenever I was a kid, and we had to wear welly boots for some reason. Don't know why. We went to the same primary school, so 2 Blue Peter presenters from one primary school in Bangor. I know. Whoever's there currently, you could be the next.
Yeah, they're putting us on the map here in Northern Ireland, which is great. They're putting Bangor on the map.
Bangor on the map. Come
on.
Love Bangor. Yeah,
that's class. And I suppose the transition between making YouTube videos to being live on TV, how has that been?
You know what? I think doing the social media stuff was the best practice ever, because particularly during lockdown, I must have sat, I don't know, 3-4 hours a day in front of a camera, just talking and talking and talking, whether it was live streaming or recording. So it meant whenever a camera was put on me in a studio, I wasn't new to it completely. That plus the fact that I'd done lots of stage work and stuff did kind of prepare me. So when I did my first Blue Peter show, I actually wasn't too nervous. Not that I'm so good. I've watched back and I'm like, oh my God, you learn so quickly.
Of course.
But also they didn't give me time to be nervous, because my first show was what we call a double show day.
Right.
So there's some weeks we'll record a live show, and some we'll record a live show and a pre-record, so that we get a week off eventually. So I had a double show day for my first one, so I didn't have time to be nervous.
Unreal.
But social definitely prepared me for it. I think I'm saying that now, I'll probably watch back where I'm at right now in a year and go, he wasn't prepared for that.
And you'll progress, but that's the thing, you know,
so.
It is, you'll progress as you go, and often people think they need to do all these courses and qualifications to get somewhere, but equally, practice has kind of got you to where you are. It's not like you're a qualified TV presenter, essentially.
I will say the one thing that I have to get better at, and I think it's a good thing that I'm being forced to, is memorizing scripts, because we don't have auto cue. So a lot of TV shows, they'll have the thing in front. I don't know why we don't, but it's not necessarily a bad thing. It means you have to really know what you're doing, and you can kind of ad lib and stuff. So that's been really fun to learn how to do that. And then of course there are moments where you're sat on live TV and you go, I don't know what my line is, and you have to just learn to go with it
and act like you know what you're gonna say.
So you learn stress tolerance, I think, and no amount of social media training prepared me for that. And then there's the new element. I'm working with the team now. I've always just kind of done it myself with the guys I work with here, so that's been really fun and a learning experience too.
Epic. I'm gonna have to look at my phone for this to make sure I get my numbers right. I need to make sure my numbers are right.
I'll pull my thumb off for the viewers like that. Isn't it amazing?
It's
stunning.
Social media.
Please.
We have 16.4 million on TikTok. That's million, not thousand. 2.7 million on YouTube. 587,000 on Instagram, and you've grew over 19 million followers on all platforms. How does that make you feel?
I'm really grateful for it. Like anything, you do get used to it very fast. I do think the best thing ever is growing a social media following in Northern Ireland, because no one blokes smoke. And you're also, it's not like you're on LA where there's loads of kids who will be like social media freak out. You do get it a bit, but I think because I grew it slowly but surely, I just kind of got used to it. I'm really thankful for it. I'm not being ungrateful. I love it. It's an amazing dream job. But it's not like winning the lottery where like you're like, oh my goodness, that's so unexpected out of nowhere. It's like you put the work in.
You're on the trajectory and you're gradually seeing an increase, and you're looking at the data and the analytics and all those things.
100%, yeah. I suppose to answer your question, it feels amazing. It's what I wanted, was to be a magician as a job, and this is an amazing platform. And at the same time, I don't look at it and feel like, oh, I don't deserve that, because I did work hard for it. The other thing that is really fun about it is that I built it up. Firstly, it was me, but also with my brother as well. We built that up together, and then I worked with my best friend Tristan. He is primarily responsible for the YouTube growth as well. It's not just me, that's worth saying as well. And that's fun to have worked on it as a bit of a project.
No, I love that. And you know, you should be sort of, I suppose, proud of yourself for achieving something like that, because it's not easy, and people will look at it and be like, oh, you know, anyone can grow a social media following, but you need people to like what you're doing. You need to be consistent with it and put the reps in, and that's exactly what we've been talking about as well.
It's one thing to grow it, it's another thing to keep it. That's the one thing I've heard. If you do take your foot off the pedal, like people will lose interest very fast. So that's just the phase I'm in now, is learning how to then nourish and look after the people I've already got.
And would you say you're able to be authentically yourself on social media?
It's a really good question. I think yes and no. Yes, I certainly am not myself on camera, but also with the sort of stuff I make, it's a lot of it's fast and snappy. So of course, it's to a certain extent.
And also you're putting on a show.
Of course, and it's magic, and that's a big part of magic in general, is
being a showman.
Yeah, you're not really. It's an elevated version of me. If you meet me in person, I'm pretty much the same, but of course on camera I'm a little bit more. It's entertainment, right?
Yeah, of course.
I will say I've never put anything out online that I look back at and go, that really wasn't who was that guy. If anything, I look back and I go, oh, I could see how gradually I'm becoming who I am now. So I think it's really important to be authentic in that you do stuff you like. The worst thing you can do, I think, is be one of these kind of trend follower creators. Because firstly, that just shows that you really don't actually care.
Of course. And it makes you inauthentic because you're hopping on a trend.
And that's fine, I think, if you're experimenting to find out what you like. But at a certain point, you need to just make stuff that you like. Some of the best advice I got, and it's in a book that's sitting there called, I think it's called Steal Like an Artist. Can't remember the author, but I reread it every so often, and it looks like a children's book, but it's actually got some great stuff in it. I think it says, like, and I'm probably butchering this, but it's something along the lines of like, write the story you wanted to read or create the video you wanted to watch, something like that. I can't remember what it is. My version of it was create the video I would want to see. So whenever I'm making something, I always have in the back of my head, if I was scrolling down the For You page, what would be the thing that would make me go, oh, that was cool, and then just make that.
And that's really interesting, because a lot of that transitions across to what I do in the coaching world. So like a lot of what I'm coaching and the people that I'm coaching is people who are overcoming the insecurities that I used to have, the challenges that I overcame, the lack of confidence that I once had. So I almost look at it like, right, I'm actually coaching my former self, or I'm putting out a video on social media where I'm talking about what I would have wanted to learn about or understand better, because we live in a world where we're always kind of moving forward. There's always new information, but equally we need to think back to where we once were, what we kind of found difficult and were frustrated by, and then kind of, I suppose, coach that person.
Yes.
Which is, it's kind of easy in a way, but then sometimes I find it hard to relate back to that person because you're in a different position now.
It must be very fulfilling though. That's one thing that I think my job misses a little bit, which is, sure, like people might be entertained by the videos, and if they come to a live show, certainly they'll have a really good time and they might remember that, but you're actually making a lot, I like to think, and you probably agree, you make genuine lasting impact on these people's lives.
Of course.
And maybe you can do that through magic. I'm thinking.
I suppose you're undermining what you're doing, but like.
But you know what I mean? Like,
I understand where you're
able to
coming
tangibly
from.
see that person was like this, now they are like this, and somewhere in the middle, I was there.
Yeah, and I
That's
suppose
cool.
that's because I actually have a direct relationship with X person who is on the program, so I actually see the transition that they go through. But equally, you could have the exact same impact on someone who's watching your videos, and that's the thing that makes them smile every single day, because that's a massive impact. And if you can actually make someone smile, that's what you're essentially doing, you know.
That's all. Thank
You made me smile whenever you thought about that name that was big smiles and all. And he asked me to keep a poker face, but I just couldn't stop smiling, you know.
I used to smiling. And you know, I will say actually, I do know for a fact of about 10 people that got into magic because of watching my videos over lockdown.
Massive
and still
impact.
doing, so that's cool.
Yeah.
But you know, I still think as I'm sure you probably do not, I still feel like I'm getting started, and there's so much more of that.
There's always another level, and I think that's the goalposts are always moving. You wanted to have 1 million followers, now you have 19 point whatever. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it shows you how the goalpost will move, and you'll actually, there obviously needs to be evidence of it actually coming true, but equally as they move, you know, you'll move with that, and you'll set bigger goals, because the moment I suppose you lose vision for where you're going is the moment that you'll just stop moving forward.
That's good advice, yeah.
Yeah, it's true.
I will say, in terms of your question about being authentic, I think I can pretty much pinpoint exactly when it was. I think it was about 3 months into lockdown where I suddenly stopped really trying to hide, I suppose, like my quirkiness and smiliness so much on camera, and actually it was more like what I am in person. There was a certain point, like I think previous to that, where I was emulating still a lot of other people, and I really just was myself, and it wasn't on purpose. I think I just was alone so much in lockdown with my own funny thoughts that I just actually started being myself a lot more on camera, and it boomed really fast, because people can tell whenever you're putting on a stick. They can, absolutely.
And I think that's what's worked well for you, because I remember the first event that I met you at, and I was like, oh, that's that guy from social media, you know, I'll go up and introduce myself, as I always do, and that's something I wouldn't have had the confidence to do before, but I went up and I says, well, Joel, I love what you're doing, etc. But then I realised, right, well, this guy, you know, you nearly are taken a little bit back, and you say, right, this guy's actually quite nice, you know, he's actually not what people perceive someone who has millions of followers to be, and I think that's a common misconception of what I thought of someone who is in your position before I met you. And equally, would you say there's any misconceptions you feel people have about you before they meet you?
I think so. I'll say to your point firstly is thank you for the compliment, but I had a really bad experience once with someone who I looked up to, who was like a social media person. I met them, and that convinced me for life to always just be as nice as possible to everyone, because I was devastated by how rude this person was. So I think misconceptions about me, I'm probably the worst person to ask, because I genuinely don't really think about it that much. I potter around life in my own little head, and I constantly get the fear because people will send me videos of them filming me walking around town, and I'm just like bloop, 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 walking around in my own. So I really don't think about it that much. I think possibly I'm a very normal person.
You mentioned fear there. Like, what is your biggest fear, to steer the question in a different direction?
The real answer, actually the thing that freaks me out the most is if my brother died. That would be the biggest one.
That's so interesting, because Lauren was on the podcast and she mentioned something similar when I asked that question.
That would really freak me out.
It's a big part of your life.
Ethan's been my best friend since I was little, and I think it's one of those things that, like, everything could be really terrible. By the way, for people watching, Ethan's the guy who is in pretty much all of my videos, the guy like going, whoa, how'd you do that? So if something happened to him, that would be my biggest fear, probably. What misconceptions about me? I think if you see what I'm like on camera, I'm less hyper in real life probably, but I'm about the same.
There is a lot of Red Bull over there though.
There is an awful lot of Red Bull, keeps us going, all these flights. I think that the big thing, whenever you meet anyone who's a social media person, there's a big difference, I think, maybe with the exception of the very early ones, between like a social media celebrity and like a more classic sort of A-lister celebrity. A lot of us don't realise that we're as well known as we actually are, because you learn almost like to gamify social media. You forget that it's actually people who are watching
people,
you.
It's real people,
Like still to this day, I still get surprised when people come up and have seen my videos. And that's not a fake humble thing. Like I would like to be a bit more cocky about it, but I do often just forget. And I think it's probably a better way to be.
And I suppose if you were to throw up, what age are you now?
I'm 25 now.
25.
Closer to 30 than 20 now, Sally. Getting old, boys.
Yeah, you can see the greys coming through and that.
Yeah, help.
I suppose if you were to throw it back and you're thinking about the 18-year-old Joel M, what would you say to that guy?
I would tell him to spend way less time worrying about stuff. I think I was a chronic worrier where I would keep myself up at night and just spent all day in this sort of fearful state. And to an extent that helped because it forced me into action to get to work. But I think I would have got to where I am faster if I had just been less fearful and worried about things, because that classic thing of most of the things you're worried about never actually happen is so true. And even if they do happen, they're usually not as bad as you thought, or it could have been the best thing for you. So there's things now I'll catch myself, I'll get worried about it, and I have to, from experience now, just let it go right away, or lean into the fear of it a little bit. So I definitely tell him, kind of keep doing what you're doing, but spend way less time worrying, because honest to God, like I was so bad, I would have spent probably more time worried about the thing I had to do than actually doing the thing, and I could have had way more free time if I just hadn't done that. I would have slept better too.
Yeah, 100%. And I'm going to try and tap into your mind here with a really hard question. So you strip the social media followers away.
Yep.
You strip the business and the career away and all your success.
Okay.
Would you still be enough?
Yeah, I would. If you had asked me that 2 years ago, I probably would have said no. But yeah, and I think I only really realised that in the last year, where I had some stuff happen to me that was a bit testing at the start of 2022, and so I almost, for a good 6 months, I didn't really focus on career or anything at all. It was really in the back burner, and I was just as happy.
And that's the thing,
I felt like myself. I think if you get to the point where, because we all go through phases, sometimes you do have to go through these driven, like get the goals done, focused. That's important sometimes, it absolutely is. And I think some people use the excuse of like, I'm enough the way I am, and that's true, but also go do something.
Yeah, you know? Of course.
But I've seen it go the other way with people as well, and that freaks me out.
And I think like so many people would have their whole identity wrapped up in, I'm Joel, the magician, the guy that's got all the followers, but equally you're someone outside of that. And I think people don't realise that. People see these people doing well or celebrities and think, oh, that's Joel that does that thing. And they don't think about the Joel that's actually underneath and the guy that's actually a human being. Yeah. So I think that's why I asked that question. And often we live in a world, especially in this country, where we constantly feel like we're not good enough. We're not good enough for that. Did you ever have a limiting belief that was kind of in the back of your head, potentially holding you back from taking the next step?
Oh yeah, I still have that now for sure. I think everyone still has that to a certain extent. I still get shocked sometimes when good things happen to me, because I'm like, why me? And I'm so aware that this comes across as like me being like fake humble or something, but I promise it's true. Tristan will be down the back nodding as well. But I definitely have held myself back massively from like asking for certain opportunities or taking certain risks or doing certain things sooner, because I haven't felt maybe I'm worthy of that. So I'm still working on that.
Yeah.
I will say, to your point earlier about whether you're enough, I remember distinctly once when I was like, that's a warning sign that I'm relying too much on the career numbers, it was during lockdown, and I worked super hard in a video and posted it, and it did badly on views by my metric. Now my metric at the time was it got 100,000 views. Yeah. But I was used to getting, say 1 million was my standard. So this is 10 times worse, but it's still 100,000 times better than when I started. Yeah. And I remember thinking, God, that's not good that I've wrapped so much. I actually was really unhappy, and like it bothered me for a day. And I thought, that's not good, because I feel 10 times worse because of a number.
Yeah.
And had I got
also
10
that-
million, I would have felt 10 times better.
Yeah.
And that's not a good position to be in.
And sometimes with the whole social media thing, it's actually outside of your control. You know, it's
Yeah.
the algorithm, it's whatever's happening on that thing. And of
100%.
course it needs to be an engaging video, but sometimes, you know, I remember being younger and like swiping on my Instagram every time I made a post, who's liked it, and you're getting that kind of dopamine and that reward from the, I suppose, the validation of what other people think of you, and that's what it comes back to.
I'll say that's like the most mentally satiating thing of all time until it's not. And then when it's not, it's really, really bad. In that at the start, when I started posting, I can relate 100%. There was a day that I was just tapping, and my best ever day in social, I went up 100,000 people. Oh no, it was 150,000 people in one day. And that was like the most addicting thing ever. Just every time I scroll. And then that's great until it stops.
Yeah.
And then what?
Of course.
So it's not a good source of happiness. It can drive you a little bit to get to a certain point, but then after a while you have to really self-generate that.
Big time. And even like on that point of like not feeling enough, and to go back to a personal example from me, so like I remember years ago I felt like, well, it was probably just over 12 months ago, my identity was solely wrapped up in Johnny's that guy that helps people with their fitness, he helps them improve their mindset, all these different things. And then COVID, it was probably actually around COVID time, and that kind of hit, and I was like, oh, is this all going to be taken away from me? Is this not going to be an option? And then one thing that task that I did that really helped me was picking someone who's really close to you. You can pick one or two people, and you either send them a message or ask them to write it in a letter or whatever, and you say, what makes you feel so connected to me?
Ooh,
right?
That's...
And I asked Lauren this question, and she kindly wrote, I wasn't asking for compliments, but she kindly wrote this big spiel about why we were connected and why she wanted to be with me and all those things. But that was never mentioned the fact that you're the fitness coach, you're the guy that helps all the people, you're the guy that does all these great things. It was actually just about who I am as a person. So if you're struggling right now and you feel like you're not good enough, go to the people that are closest to you, ask them what makes you feel connected to them, and I guarantee you it will instantly flip your perspective.
That's a lovely, lovely idea.
Yeah.
Might try that.
Do it. Get Tristan to write down all the things he loves about you.
Tristan, I'm going to write all the things I like about you.
Yeah.
It is a long, long page to be reading for days.
It is good practice though, and I think it will help. So
That's a really good idea. I like that.
Who's the most famous person in your phone book?
Okay, I'll show you.
Yeah.
But I can't tell the camera.
Okay.
And then I'll tell you the story about how I got it. But we can't tell.
Yeah, that's cool. I'll not mention it. Is it a really good looking girl?
No. Although I have some of those. That's the best one.
That's legit.
No, the thing is, they do not know I have their phone number.
Yeah.
The reason I have it is I was doing a podcast, and the guest that I had on, they had their number.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't believe that one bit. They opened up their phone to show me, and me being mentalist minded was able to just go, remember it.
Really?
Stuck it in my phone just so they don't know I have it, nor will I ever use it, but I do have that phone number.
That's unreal. It's a legitimate phone number. It is a good one.
Yeah.
And
by the way, I should say some actual ones. I'm really lucky in that I have, like, the people I looked up to in the magic world, I'm connected to most of them now, and that's super, super cool. I'm voicemailing my childhood heroes now, and that's probably the coolest thing about having the social media audience overall. Like, if there was a flexi thing, is that it does give you access to people. So if anyone's thinking of starting social media and they need a reason to do it, that's a pretty fun one.
Yeah. And you had Jace Drull on your podcast. How was that?
We had Jason, actually, wasn't even with the podcast, we actually filmed magic with him instead.
Oh, right,
So we have tricks, which will come out hopefully in the next month. Lovely guy.
Yeah.
Do you know what, honestly, with the exception of one or two, every single famous person I've met has been lovely. And whenever you do get, I still don't consider myself famous, I think that I have some online popularity, you then learn very quickly that, oh, they're probably just like me as well. They're probably still as confused as anyone else as to why and they probably have a bit of imposter syndrome too. So it makes talking to celebrities a lot easier, because you realize that's that classic thing of celebrities are just normal people. They are, I think when you get like mega famous, there's some that their life just is different for sure. But for the most part, they're all just nice people who work very hard at what they do. They like what they do, and a lot of the reason why they're famous is because they're very good at people and nice to people, which is why they climb to the top.
Yeah, and also people will like look at people and put them on a pedestal and say, oh, you know, they're amazing and they're this and they're that. But equally, whenever it comes to that comparison trap that's going to steal away all your happiness, it's actually looking at it just like chapters of a book. If you're in an industry and someone's that you really look up to is doing really well, they're just on a further on chapter. They've maybe been doing it a little bit longer.
Well,
And
again, you shouldn't even really look for validation from people who are really, really close to you, let alone complete strangers.
Yeah.
I mean, you take advice and like love
Of
from the
course.
people around you, but only you really know yourself and your entire story and what's going on inside. So you really shouldn't take it too seriously.
Big
and it
time.
can become addicting, like it really can. I remember during lockdown when Ethan and I would go out and we would go to, say, a McDonald's, and every person there would have, because TikTok was just the thing at the time, all the kids would know, and that can become really addicting. And I never found it annoying, or you hear like people complain like, that's so annoying, I can't go out. Like, I loved it, it was great, but then you do go, oh, actually this is a bit superficial, and if I disappeared tomorrow, none of them would probably notice. So let's just take this with a pinch of salt.
Of course. And I suppose a lot of people will have seen that you're doing and going through a little bit of a fitness journey at the minute, and you're doing really well with it. So what advice would you give to someone who's kickstarting their fitness journey?
Right, okay, depends what your goals are. This is going to be hilarious because what I say now, you may be like, no. What's worked for me? I find that I am a very extreme person. So when I try something, I tend to go like absolutely ham at it. And that's actually been a detriment, because if I wanted to get leaner, I'd borderline like starve myself. Like, I'm sure you've seen loads of people do, or if I wanted to put on muscle, I'd like eat way too much. So I always struggle to level it out. And I think there's a balance somewhere in the middle. It's work. Do you know the thing that set me back for years was, honestly, I couldn't be bothered to do the mental math of the nutrition. So I would just think I knew what I was eating and never actually measure it. And when I started measuring what I was eating, I made more progress in like 2 months than I did 8 years. So that'd be the first piece of advice: get the nutrition right, or go to someone who understands it. And I think I probably overtrained a lot as well. Went to the gym too much. I rest a lot more now, take more rest days. That's been really good. I know sleep is really, really important. It's something I'm trying to get better at as well. And I would say, honestly, when you make the mental flip of exercise being a chore to actually genuinely enjoying it, and when you see all the benefits out of it, it becomes very easy to stay in shape.
And I suppose like an add-on of that, it's like, you know, going to the gym to look a certain way is probably exactly how not to do it. Equally, you know, there's always a goal of wanting to look different and improve your body shape, of course, but you want to actually think about and attach how it makes you feel. So like, you going to the gym, yes, it's going to change how your body looks as a byproduct, but if you focus on how it makes you feel after the gym session, you'll never miss a gym session.
And I didn't understand that until this, I suppose the last year really, is I used to think, possibly the way I was conditioned in like PE in school and being forced to play sports I didn't like to. I used to think exercise equals I feel bad. When you realize that it is the complete opposite, and you actually feel amazing when you really push yourself without injuring yourself, of course. Or even like with nutrition, you eat healthy foods, you feel great. And it's such an obvious thing, but I think people think it's like a punishment to give up all this awful stuff, and you don't have to give it up completely, but if you stop eating Domino's pizza, your life gets better, not worse. You know?
Big time.
No, within reason, like we all like to like to dab in. I had some chocolate this afternoon, it was a good time.
Seeing the Kinders going down,
That's the other thing, is I used to feel really guilty about then, like say I had hit like nutrition perfectly and it was like, oh, you have room for a nice chocolate bar. I go, no, can't, bad, because I'm extremist. But actually you're better off doing that, because then you're more likely to stick to it for the long term. I'm sure you have your advice on that as well.
Like sticking to it for the long term is a big one, and what you want to look at your fitness journey like when you start it is like, do I see myself doing this for the rest of my life? If the answer is yes, keep doing what you're doing. If the answer is no, it's probably not going to be sustainable. So it's actually looking at it being like, right, is going to the gym 6 times a week sustainable for me with my current busy schedule? No. Is going to the gym 3 or 4 times sustainable? Yes. So I see myself doing that forever, so I'll do it.
And it's just starting wherever you're at. Like for me at the minute, I do go to the gym every day, but I don't lift weights every day. I get 10,000 steps a day, and usually that's just on a treadmill for like 30 minutes and just pottering around, and then I only lift 3 days a week, sometimes 2, and that is enough.
That's working
usually
for you,
it's no,
and it is more than enough. Like, I'm not saying
it is for the, well, at least for the average person, but it depends what you want. Like, there's been times where I've lifted 7 days a week just because I've wanted to and felt so good afterwards, and then there's times I'm traveling and I can't. So it's just about knowing yourself. And the other thing is, don't try and figure it out by yourself. Find someone who knows what they're doing and get a coach. I've had coaches, so that makes a big difference. You wouldn't try and learn to speak a new language by yourself, so
big time.
Find someone who knows and ask them.
I suppose outside of what you do in the magic world and on TV and all those things, what do you like doing outside of fitness and all those things?
I love playing piano. That's like my therapy. I absolutely love playing video games, but I do not let myself, because it's like that, you know, everyone has that one thing when they do it, then everything else goes. If I went home today and like played the PS5, it would all just go to hell really quickly.
Minecraft will be out again.
Oh, do you know, I actually found a way to trick my brain. Here's a fun one I use. It's so stupid. But if I have to get like really like boring work done, or like emails or admin or something, stick on a soundtrack to something that you liked when you were younger. So I stick on the Minecraft extended mix on YouTube, and I will fly
Productivity
through.
hack.
I was paying parking tickets earlier, and I just got through them in a breeze because like that music was playing in the background. It's like as close as I can get to playing the game. So I like doing that. Honestly, classic things. I like going to the cinema. Most of my free time, honestly, is spent here, because it's this cliche of like, well, if you like what you do, it's not work. Honestly, we have a ball just here in the office. When I'm with my brother, we sit and we just mess around making videos. I get to do, there's some things, of course, I don't like about my job, but for the most part, if I had free time when I was younger, I would spend it doing what I'm doing now for a job. Yeah. So if you can find something that you really do like doing, and somehow, I understand it's difficult and not everyone's in that position, but if you can, absolutely go all in on that, because it does make work very fulfilling.
Love it.
Yeah.
So we're going to finish with 3 quick fire questions.
Love it.
1 actual question and a magic trick. How does that sound?
That sounds beautiful.
Love it. Right, so
let's go.
First quick fire question. I've got it written down here.
Okay.
Perform 200 magic tricks every day for the rest of your life, or not do magic at all.
Oh, okay. Well, that's a...
200 would take a long time.
I'm going to pick the no magic, because I've done 200 magic tricks today when I used to do live streams, and I burnt out like beyond belief. So no, I couldn't do 200 a day.
Because it's
That's
even
too
like
much.
the mental thing of doing it, as well as obviously physically moving your body.
Yeah, I think I would just get sick of the tricks. I think that would kill it for me. I'm picking no magic.
And what about something that you've always wanted to achieve but you haven't achieved it yet?
I would love to do a big extended tour, like a live show. Live stuff is my favorite. I love doing the corporate jobs, the one-off shows, but I'd like to take like a year and use the social media and the TV stuff that I built to sell the tickets and then meet the people that have been watching my stuff online.
Yeah.
Want to do that?
We always ask this at the end of every single podcast before we do the magic trick.
Okay.
It's called the Unstoppable Podcast. What does being and becoming unstoppable mean to you?
Okay, I think there's days where you wake up and you absolutely do feel unstoppable. You just do. And there's days where you absolutely don't, no matter what. You just, by default, 10% of your days are probably going to suck. I think being unstoppable is at some point you make a commitment to yourself that even on those bad days, you're still going to try your very, very best. Or at least you're going to try and outlast those bad days, so that then eventually you can look back and you have a big streak and you don't have regrets. And you look back and go, I gave it my very, very best. That's probably what being unstoppable would be to me. Just keep going, don't stop.
Keep her lit, isn't that what they say?
Keep her lit is right. But I would just add to that as well, a big part, I think, honestly, of why I'm able to do this now is you just outlast people by being unstoppable. If you can just go, right, I'm just not going to completely stop. The amount of people that started doing the social media magic thing at the same time as me that now just aren't doing it, and we're definitely more talented, and we're probably at the time working harder, but then just stopped. And you're like, why'd you stop? It's no, that for me is mad. So don't do that. I'd wake up each day with the intention of trying to get a little bit better.
Love it. 1% better. Final magic trick then? Are you gonna what are you gonna do for us?
I would love to show you something, and I have never performed this trick on TV, social, anywhere, so you get first dibs on it.
First dibs, love it.
Which means if it goes wrong,
it's fine.
I warned you. It's a card trick. Everyone loves card tricks, but it's a bit different than the normal card trick. I'll not tell you what I'm going to do, because that'll give away the ending, but I'm attempting to do something with you right now.
Okay.
It's already started, and I think this is going to work. If you have a look at the cards for a second, I'm just going to shuffle through them just for the moment. And good, look at me. Good, you're going to think of a card inside the pack, but you're not going to do it just by going 2 of diamonds. Everyone thinks of the same sort of cards. A lot of girls will think Queen of Hearts, a lot of fellas think Ace of Spades or 7 of Hearts. You're going to go through and consciously choose the one you want. So you can look through the entire pack, make a mental note of what you want, and just keep going and then shuffle them. So you don't have to take the card out of the pack, just one. I don't want there to be any signal as to what the card is. So don't go through and like take it out and put it on the table some way of like me knowing. Just do it at random.
Okay.
Okay? And when you have one, you just pop the cards back on the table. I'm going to look this way into
I don't
the
take the
camera
card
as well.
out or anything?
Don't even take it out, just take a mental note. That means this would be impossible. I'm not going to look at you in case you think I'm possibly watching your eye movements, maybe seeing when you get interested in one. Not that that would help me anyway, because you're going to shuffle them. And whenever you are happy, you let me know. I'm also going to throw in a piece of chewing gum, because 2 coffees in a row ain't good for anyone.
Right.
You have one.
I've got one.
Would you like to change your mind?
No.
Okay, throw them back in the box. I don't need these anymore.
Do you want me to shuffle them?
Oh, you can if you'd like, please. Or you don't have to. It's up to you.
No, I'm a terrible shuffler. I'm not even going to shuffle them because genuinely I don't know how to shuffle.
We'll pop
That
them
is
away.
the problem.
You're fantastic. Okay,
Yeah.
that felt like a free choice. Yes? Mm-hmm. It wasn't a free choice. I'm going to explain why. I think if I've done this right, I should have subliminally influenced you to pick the card I want. Now, I'm going to commit to it. I'm not just going to ask you to tell me and then me say, yeah, it worked, because that wouldn't be. I'll take out the one that I thought that you thought.
Okay.
All right. And again, if I'm wrong here, I want to just say as well, see if I can read your face. Possibly that one.
Keep my poker face.
I'm really not sure if I've done this right. Was it the first card that just pops into your head, or did you change your mind a couple of times?
I changed my mind a few times.
Might struggle. Okay, I'm just going to go for what my gut reaction was, and I'm going to pop it on the table, but I don't want you to look at it quite yet. Put your finger on top of the card so you know I don't change it. Oh, I feel like this hasn't worked. What was the card?
6 of hearts.
There's not a 6 of hearts in here. It's disappeared. It's in your pocket. I'm just joking. I did get it wrong. You can take a look. I went for. You can show the camera. Queen of Hearts, but that would have been good. Would have been good. Anyway, yeah. I was thinking because Queen of Hearts on the. Oh
yes, that would have been.
Although interestingly, you didn't notice me influencing you to pick 6 of Hearts. No.
No.
Because what happened, if you watch this back, I actually at one point said, I want you to think of a card, and I pulled one out and I held a Queen of Hearts in your face. You can watch back the footage, and I thought that would have got you to think of the Queen of Hearts. And you stared right at the Queen. Do you remember me doing that?
No.
You don't remember doing that?
No. I'll watch it back.
Because it's not about the Queen of Hearts, it's about what the Queen of Hearts is holding. If you look closer, look, the Queen of Hearts is actually holding a card. What card is the Queen holding?
The 6 of hearts.
Pure luck. You get a Blue Peter badge. No, you don't. That's not how it works.
I thought that one actually went wrong.
Oh, I nearly had you.
They nearly had me filled.
Make him wriggle and just like, oh God, I have to cut this down.
But no, thanks very much. Absolute legend.
It's been my pleasure. Thank you so much. Lovely.
Thanks for coming on. Legend.
Guys, make sure you subscribe and like and all.
Like and subscribe.
Do it all. I'll use my mind skills to make you do it.
Manage all this social media thing.
It's been a real joy.
No,
Thank you.
I appreciate it, mate.
Legend.